There's a reason why there have been millions of songs written about breakups. They're hard, they're emotional, they're messy. Miami and Dwyane Wade's divorce has been all of this. My colleague Dan Lebertard wrote a column in the Miami Herald that puts it best. Here's just a paragraph I want to read to you. Bill Belichick will let players go coldly a year too early. You just saw what happened when the hijacked Lakers let Kobe Bryant go a year or two too late. The Heat, they landed somewhere in the middle of those extremes, as if there's ever any right place to land when breaking up. It used to feel like love, and now everyone involved feels hurt and damaged by the iciness of it all. Well put. Here's D. Wade on the path to recovery. Not exactly sure what step this is.
First and foremost, I love Pat Riley. You know, he's been someone who's been a figurehead in my life, you know, since I got drafted here at 21. But at the same time, he has a job to do. He has a different hat to wear. That hat sometimes is not to be my best friend. You know, that hat is to be the president of the organization and to be a businessman. And it sucks because you know somebody so well, you guys love each other, but the business side come out, you know, and we have to deal with that. So I'm not saying that, you know, we've hugged and cried and shared tears at this moment, but I love Pat, and I will always love Pat. And, you know, and I know he feel the same way about me, but it's the business side, man. You know, he's a tough cookie, you know, and I've grown it to be a tough one as well. So, you know, yeah, we can butt heads at times, but I have nothing but the utmost respect and admiration for what, you know, he's been able to do in this game of basketball.
You believe him, Doug? It's like the recovery process
the
here.
Tough cookie part I got.
Yeah,
I'll believe
that's about it. So if you're a Heat fan, you got to be thinking, what are we doing next year? Because it's going to look real different out there. Of the 8 players to start at least 10 games for Miami last season, only 3 are still on the roster. That's 3. One of those is Chris Bosh, where we don't even know what he's doing. Sports Center, Dwyane Rossini alongside Max Bretas, where we have breaking news.
What's new?
Yeah, right. Nothing. What a crazy 6 days of NBA free agency this has been. And add another to the long list of shocking surprises, and that is being Dwyane Wade, a Chicago Bull.
So he's from the Illinois, Chicagoland area, and he's going to the Bulls, getting the money he wants. We'll get details on that, although nothing has been confirmed. He's told the AP, did Wade, this was not an easy decision, but I feel I made the right choice. Much more reaction coming in. We've got Stephen A. Smith on the phone. Stephen A., this is, we knew that Dwyane Wade possibly could be making that move as he played that game with the Miami Heat to see about the money. What's your reaction when you hear that he is going to join the Bulls?
Stunned, yet still not surprised. Stunned because he loves Miami, he loves the city, he loves the area, he loves the fans, and obviously he brought 3 championship rings there. So stunned because, you know, his lovely wife, Gabrielle Union, along with himself and his kids, love being there. They just built a new house there over a year ago or so. They moved in there, a house that he had been working on for years. So stunned in that respect, but not shocked because this has been a long time coming. He's been incredibly frustrated with the Miami Heat for several years now. He believes that he hasn't been treated like the star he deserves to be treated as. He's never been the highest paid player in franchise history. He was the guy responsible for bringing LeBron James to South Beach. He sacrificed money time and time again, cost himself about $25 million over the years because it was one of those situations where he would take less, assuming they would take care of him later. And each time it appeared to be a battle. And this time was the last straw. When LeBron James left a couple of years ago, you know, Pat Riley did not appreciate the fact that Dwyane Wade did not give them any indication as to what LeBron James was going to do. They didn't necessarily believe that Dwyane Wade knew nothing. Dwyane Wade swore he knew nothing until LeBron James made his decision. Then this time around, they looked at the fact that Kevin Durant, Dwyane Wade wasn't helpful in terms of speaking up for the organization, et cetera, et cetera. And knowing Pat Riley the way that we all do, he's going to make his presence known and he's going to make his frustration known. So taking all of those things into consideration, negotiating with Dwyane Wade, he could have come up in Dwyane Wade's eyes, but elected not to do so. And from what my sources tell me, as recently as a day or two ago, Pat Riley hadn't even communicated with him. Dwyane Wade met with Mickey Harrison. It wasn't with Pat Riley. And since Mickey Harrison wouldn't budge either, and it was only like a $7 to $8 million difference, Dwyane Wade said, "To hell with it. I'm going to go home and play with Chicago, even though I don't expect them to be that great. Anything is better than feeling disrespected after what I've done for this franchise." That's his mentality, and that is why he is gone.
Stephen A., you touched on it with regards to your sources. What do you make about how the Miami Heat have handled this situation with Wade's contract?
Well, I've always felt that they could have handled it better in terms of Dwyane Wade. Obviously, when he had some questions with his knee and stuff like that, you can understand it. But the reality is clear. Dwyane Wade is a three-time champion. He's the most celebrated player in franchise history. And for him to be in a situation where he's got to worried about being taken care of, when you consider what Dallas does to Dirk Nowitzki every chance they get, it's something that Dwyane Wade paid rapt attention. Now, Miami is a big-time organization. Their ownership, Pat Riley, there's not much wrong you can say about them. The flip side is that when Dwyane Wade makes his case, which he has to me personally on several occasions in the past, you can understand where he's coming from. He's a three-time champion. The first time he was NBA Finals MVP. The other two times, he's the guy that was responsible for bringing Chris Bosh and LeBron James to South Beach. So taking all of those things into consideration, recognizing the contribution he made to the franchise, you would think that if there was one person that they would take care of, it would be him. He obviously feels that they haven't done that. And I'm telling you right now for a fact, he is leaving because he is completely frustrated and fed up with the Miami Heat organization, not because he believes he's going to a better situation in Chicago. He knows he's not going to a better situation in Chicago. He does not care. He feels so disrespected that is what he has decided to do.
Stephen A., let's talk about the situation in Chicago. Obviously, not a team built to win right now. Gar Forman was looking for a youth movement, essentially his words. And then you get the news of Rajon Rondo, and you see Dwyane Wade. Knowing this team's going to have limitations, what do you think they can do this season, this upcoming year?
Nothing.
Is this going to be playing? I mean, they're going to be playing.
Dwyane Wade's going to do something. Jimmy Butler is an all-star. To pick up a Rajon Rondo is definitely good. Their guard play is going to be stellar or a tad bit shy of stellar. But what else do they have? I can't think of it. I really, really can't. And so to me, it's clearly a worse situation for him to be going into. I personally wish that he wouldn't, but he feels incredibly disrespected, specifically by Pat Riley and the Heat upper management. That's where he stands. And because of that is why he's leaving. I want to repeat this for emphasis. He knows he's not going to a better situation than the one he's departed. But he's doing it because he feels totally disrespected by a franchise he believes he's given his life's blood to that hasn't returned and reciprocated the level of dedication and sacrifice that he's given them. He's highly offended by it. That is why he is leaving.
Stephen A., it makes a lot of sense, and the Bull fans will realize that this is a guy, he's won 3 championships. So how do you think the Chicago fans are going to receive this?
Well, they're going to be receptive to him because he's a native son. He's a champion. He's an all-star. He's proven he can still play, and he's got some years left in him. And on top of it all, based on everything they've already lost, he's the only source of good news they've had in the last month. And so when you look at it from that perspective, there is no doubt that they're going to find cause to celebrate. But at the same time, it's not going to be a championship caliber celebration because Dwyane Wade is not at that stage and point in his career where he could deliver on such good. He is an all-star. He's going to do his job. Jimmy Butler is an all-star. He's going to do his job. Rajon Rondo led the league in assists. He's going to do his job. But the cupboard is bare. The Chicago Bulls don't have much. Paxson and Gar Forman ought to be respected, but the fact is they haven't done that great of a job as of late. This is not a very good basketball team. It's just that simple. If they make the playoffs, it will be cause for celebration.
Stephen A. Smith joining us here on SportsCenter, giving his opinion on the Dwyane Wade news that he's going to the Bulls. Stephen A., thanks for joining us. Okay. This is what the Bulls team would look like. As you see, the backcourt looks great, assuming Jimmy Butler is now a front court player. Taj Gibson remains a Bull, and they do have Robin Lopez, and there's a reserve, so it's not terrible. This wasn't a playoff team last season, missing out. You wonder if they are next season with the addition of Dwyane Wade. With more on this big move, Scott Van Pelt with his talk with Dan Le Batard.
13 years. Dwyane Wade likely will get his number retired still in Miami. He will. He'll likely get a statue. People like statues. But let's get the Chicago angle for Michael Wilbon. Joins us on the telephone. Michael, what value does Dwyane Wade bring to Chicago?
Well, from a basketball standpoint, that's yet to be determined at this point. From an emotional value, it's hard to calculate. It's greater than the money the Bulls are paying. And remember, the Bulls just traded away arguably the most popular athlete in this city, at least from 2008 through 2013, since Michael Jordan, when they traded away Derrick Rose. So this is, a lot of us like to say, the biggest small town in America is Chicago. And Wade will fill a void, at least emotionally. And, it'll be interesting. We'll all be asking him, the first thing I want to ask him when I talk to him is, what do you have left in the tank? And I'm sure he believes he has a lot left in the tank. He had a pretty good season last year. And so the question is, yes, from a basketball standpoint, what does he have left? How's he going to fit in with Rondo at a time where teams are acquiring three-point shooting as frantically as they can and just sort of stockpiling it? The Bulls gave away arguably their best three-point shooter, traded him away, and Mike Dunleavy, and really have a couple of three-point shooters in Mirotic and McDermott. But it's not, as Brian Windhorst just said, the kind of team stylistically that people are going to in the NBA. But that's for another day here in Chicago, where I am right now. And literally walking down the street, people are bringing out their cars. You hear about D. Wade? Here we signed D. Wade. And it's like it was 6 years ago, 8 years ago. Dwyane Wade is a Chicagoan. He has spent in past years, I don't know about the last couple, a lot of time here in the off season. You could see him around. You could see him walking around downtown. He's a Chicagoan. The first person I ever heard about Derrick Rose from after a Heat Bulls game one night, 10 years ago, was Dwyane Wade, who said, we got to go out and see this kid Rose. I think he's better than I was at that point. I mean, he's a Chicagoan. He stays in touch with what goes on here. He's a Marquette alum. People love Dwyane Wade, even though he was on the team they hated the most when Bulls were going against Miami pretty strong. He never fell out of favor here. So this is emotionally, and particularly in the absence of Derrick Rose now, a huge acquisition. If it's a PR hit in Miami, it's a PR boost here in Chicago where people are just looking at the team going, why are we going out there? What are we going to see? What are we going to support? And now you have Rondo and Wade, and people here are going to be excited about that, at least at the beginning.
Cubs have massively popular players. This is the golden era of the Blackhawks. They've never been this good or popular in the history of the city. Is it important for the Bulls to at least get in their neighborhood? Does that kind of thing play into this?
Well, they were already in the neighborhood. They were the king of the neighborhood, even though they didn't get to a final. I mean, in 2011, this city, in terms of sports pecking order, it shows you how things can change, was Bulls and Bears. The Bears went to the NFC Championship game at the end of the 2010 season into 2011 January. And that was Derrick Rose's MVP season. So the Bulls were already on top of the sort of sports pyramid in Chicago. And they were pretty high up at 2 years ago when they had a 2-1 lead and were LeBron James corner jump shot away from taking a 3-1 lead on Cleveland. They were pretty high up. And they even started, if you remember, they started last season as the Vegas number 2 pick in the East. They were the team that Vegas had slotted to play Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals. So it's what's happened since January when the Bulls just fell apart. The firing of Tibbs, and subsequently now an awful season in which they missed the playoffs for the first time in a while. So they can get back there. Are they going to surpass the Cubs? I don't know. The Cubs have lost now 15 out of the last 25 games. So let's see where they're going to be, by the time we get to October. Things change incredibly quickly in any sports landscape, and particularly this one in Chicago.
It's a shocker. Dwyane Wade is the Chicago Bull. Good night, Michael Wilbon.